Yo, what is going on, guys? It's your boy, the King Dylan 96 here, and I am here. I am here for my first reaction video of the channel. First and foremost, shout out to IcySylvie for allowing me to react to her very first nuzlocke, which I am so happy to be doing this because, as you guys know, I'm doing my own nuzlocke on my channel, and I will do many more. Unfortunately, I am not as good as at editing as IcySylvie is to where I can put it all in one video. So, yeah. All right, let's check it out and see how she did on her first Fire Red Pokemon Nuzlocke. Get
Pokemon is a
away.
series that dominated my life up until college. Whether it was the hundreds of hours I spent playing Gens 1 through 4 by my friendless self, developing a small hoarding addiction collecting the cards and plush toys, or simply watching the anime every day after school.
Yeah. For those who don't know, if you're a Pokemon fan, it takes over your life. Like, hold on. Where's my... Oh, he's all the way back there. I have, like, this big Snorlax plushie that takes up a nice bit of room, but he's kind of packed in the back over there. I'll have to bring him out for another video, but yeah.
Cool. Of course, back then I wasn't much of a Pokemon trainer, as I always just picked the Pokemon that looked cool and overall leveled everything, making trivial work of the games. In fact, I'm still teaching myself the type chart to this day.
So many non-Pokemon fans do not understand how ridiculous this chart can be. Like, if you are first getting into Pokemon, this chart is going to be your mortal enemy because you will completely forget what is super effective against what, especially if Pokemon decides, hey, we're going to add new types onto this shit. I'm looking at you, fairy types.
Just good against.
See, that's the face. That's the face.
I don't know. Why is this streamer trying to nuzlocke? She doesn't even know half of her type chart. Okay, you know what? We're gonna give up.
I felt that energy.
So
I
maybe I
felt
don't
that.
have the skills for success. But I was still eager to challenge myself with my first hardcore nuzlocke. With so many hours of experience in Kanto, the region I know the best, and hundreds more watching my favorite Poketubers, a hardcore run should be easy for a fan like myself. For those of you that don't know what a Pokemon Nuzlocke is, it's a set of rules that intend to create a higher level of difficulty during your playthrough. As we all know, Pokemon games are stupidly easy. After all, they're made for children. But
sadistic adults
like myself like to make games harder in order to make these games into a challenge. And not feel so bad spending hundreds of more hours on these children's games. A basic Nuzlocke has 4 rules. If any Pokemon faints in battle, it's dead forever and must be released or boxed immediately. You may only catch the first wild Pokemon encountered on each route or area. The player must nickname all their Pokemon to get more attached to them. And once you white out, the run is over. I also...
That is the one rule I don't go by. Yes, if you white out, but you have no Pokemon whatsoever, including in your box, then it's game over. But to me, if I have Pokemon in my box that I can easily train up, I'd say use them. Why not?
included 2 additional rules. Duplicate clause, in which we can only obtain 1 Pokemon from each species. That means if we encounter a Pokemon we already own, we keep battling until we encounter one we do not. And gift static Pokemon, as long as they were our first encounter. This prevents you from running around with a full team of Gyarados, for example. Since this is a hardcore Nuzlocke, we added even more rules. As a Pokemon enjoyer of over 25 years, it just didn't seem hard enough yet. After all, there's nothing preventing me from defaulting to my use and just sweeping the game with my level 100 Blastoise. The hardcore rules we'll be using include: you cannot use items in battle, though this does not affect held items. The battle style must be changed to set, and you cannot level past the next gym leader's strongest Pokemon. While I had said that I had hundreds of hours as a child playing through the first 2 generations of games, I had never actually touched the remix. This commonly led to issues over the course of the run, unfortunately. The encounter tables have changed up compared to what I remember, and the layouts of some places have also changed.
Very much so.
But I wouldn't figure that out until much later. Since this is my first Nuzlocke, I went with what I thought was the optimal early game choice of Bulbasaur, who I promptly named after one of my favorite kitchen appliances, the Ninja Bullet. Look, that appliance...
As a chef, I love the names. I love that name, and I hope to God that she actually keeps up with the kitchen nicknames. That'll actually be great.
This is great, okay? I make so many smoothies each week with that thing, and anyway, Bulbasaur will trivialize the first gyms, while giving me resistance versus the third and fourth gyms, allowing me to safely enter the mid-game. It wouldn't be until much later that I'll regret giving my rival everyone's favorite starter as a child. After getting my favorite item to make jokes about, Pokeballs, I caught my first set of encounters. On Route 1, I catch a Rattata, name it Gilgamesh. On Route 22, I catch a Mankey, name it Toaster. On Route 2, I catch a Pidgey and name it Whisk. And in Viridian
Yeah,
Forest,
she
I
keeps
catch a
going with the
Caterpie that I
kitchen
named
appliances.
Rice Cooker, the future star of this run. It's a name that might have been too good for this little caterpillar, but like any good parent, I gave him a name that he would grow into and carry him far in life.
Get out there and tell him you're dragging two, and you go to the customers and tell them you f***ed it up.
Now, you'll
I
notice
fucking love
I
it.
had a theme here with appliances, mainly kitchen ones, except in the really cool case where chat discovered the pay-to-win experience of gifting subs to name something on this run. Because remember, money will buy you happiness, or at least it'll let you name a Pokemon. We had our team for Brock now. I fully went into this run with the expectation to use my starter here, but I had gotten a good encounter on Route 22. Initially, I was hoping for a Nidoran there, and this is where I first learned the encounter tables in the remake are nothing like the originals. Regardless, I had two great options for the first gym in both Toaster and Ninja Bullet. Toaster
Just gonna say this: I'm pulling for Toaster, and I want him to make it to the end. I love Mankey, and I love his evolution line, especially the new one. That shit is terrifying and beautiful, and I love it. And it's unfortunate you don't get it in Fire Red.
proceeded to break all of Brock's balls with a few karate chops to the nuts here. This young man would no longer be roaming the streets of Kanto and harassing every nurse joy in existence. After attempting to dodge through the gauntlet of trainers of Route 3, I picked up another member, a Jigglypuff named Radio, that I promptly shamed to the box for eternity. At the Pokemon Center, I also proceeded to purchase my coveted Magikarp dishwasher. I allowed this as my first of 6 static encounters in the game, with the others being Snorlax, Eevee, Lapras, and the 2 fossils later on. With the encounter tables being more atrocious than I expected, I could have easily skipped this purchase to guarantee one later with the old rod that can be picked up in Vermilion City. I guess it really was just a scam, but I was still pleased to have my future Angry Noodle Boy and Intimidate user for later. I rounded out my encounters in this section with everyone's favorite cave bat, Oven the Zubat, in Mount Moon. I practiced my Naruto run through the cave as I did my best to dodge optional trainers before picking up the fossil for our Lord and Savior Helix. After
I will say this: I understand everybody loves Helix, but for me, I always pick up the Dome Fossil. I like Kabutops. I don't know why. I think something with like giant knives for hands is a lot better than a little snail slug thing.
After heading
I
out of
don't
the
know.
cave, I picked up Mega Punch for my Mankey from the Dueling Duo. I figured Mega Punch would give me some type variety on our fighting monkey while also boasting the higher accuracy over Mega Kick. Mega Kick is definitely the gambler's dream move, since
Yes,
when it does
always
hit,
go
it
for
hits
Mega
hard.
Punch.
But I wasn't about to throw away my first hardcore Nuzlocke to the memes that plague YouTube's Nuzlockers. I almost failed to pick up an encounter completely on Route 4 due to my complete inability to read maps. Route 3 and 4, which sandwich Mount Moon, are in fact not the same route. We picked up a Spearow named Oven Vet, not even getting its own unique appliance name before he got sent to the box, and making our way to our second gym. Since I'm an expert Pokemon trainer of over 25 years, I showed Misty the business here, sweeping her team with
No.
my starter, who was now
Give
a
her the
Ivysaur. It
business.
might have been a difficult match, but I really clutched up here and was able
Oh,
to continue
fucking
my
stupid.
run. I headed north and kicked my Magikarp off the ridge for him to evolve into a Gyarados. The angry
what'd you
noodle
go and
easily
kick the
chomped his way
Magikarp
through our
for?
first real rival fight against the dreaded Twitch chat, who we hadn't seen since his grandfather's lab. I had skipped the second rival fight on Route 22 because I don't even know what he's doing there. Oh, and did I forget to mention, I named Rival Chat after Twitch Chat, because Chat is always so cute, and what girl didn't have a crush on Gary at 10 years old? Speaking of which, how was Gary able to drive at 10 years old in the anime? At least he didn't try to run over my Pokemon. From there, we continued on to the Nugget Bridge on our way to go talk to PC Inventor and Resident Furry Bill. The next 2 routes added 2 new Pokemon to our box resources in the Oddish named Lawnmower on Route 24, and a Weedle I named Pepper Grinder on Route 25. Yeah, I know, a lawnmower isn't a kitchen appliance. I started running out of naming ideas already. Anyway, after fighting through the
You
gauntlet
should have
of
called
trainers
me.
on
I
the
would have
Nugget
helped.
Bridge on Route 25, I made it to Bill's house, helped him escape from his fursuit with a jam zipper, and kindly took my reward of a free cruise vacation on the SS Anne. We then head south on
I'd
our
say
way to
it's pretty
tackle
fair,
the
helping a
SS
guy
Anne in
get
order
out
to
of a
pick up
suit,
the
you get
HM
a
cut, which we would need to
free
destroy a
ticket.
small tree blocking us from our third gym fight. We pick up a few more encounters here that would actually see the world outside of Bill's box system. On Route 5, we caught a Meowth that we named Cat Jam, thank you Twitch chat,
right.
as well as a Diglett from Diglett Cave named Coffee Maker, and a Drowsy named White Noise on Route 11. We skipped
Drowsy.
the encounter on Route 6 until later,
Too
when we
many
could come back with
stories.
Surf. Encounter tables were quite thin at this point in the game, and there was simply nothing left to catch here in the grass. I was starting to prepare my team for the third gym now. I planned to have my answer to this gym be Diglett as my main option, with a likely Ivysaur as my follow-up. As I had only ever done this section of the game with a Dugtrio, I sorely underestimated how squishy this boy from my Pokemon Smash or Pass stream was.
I'm sorry, but the answer is definitely yes.
It is definitely yes times 3! Oh my god, yes! Sporting only 25 defense and 45 special defense, Diglett is the definition of a true glass cannon, so I proceeded to almost lose him to a random trainer's Pikachu on the SS Anne. Oh my god, and after running around stealing everyone's rations, I headed towards the captain's quarters to get a pair of scissors, before running into my rival. This fight wasn't much different from the one on the bridge, just this time we were on a boat. I fed as many of his Pokemon as I could to my Gyarados, who was able to eat delicious chicken.
Actually, that damn Raticate.
Against his Kadabra, I got off one bite before having him disabled, and having to finish it off with a tackle. The rival's first few Pokemon had gotten a defense down on Gyarados, and done half his health. I didn't feel comfortable leaving him in further. I switched into my own Plague Rat here and exterminated his Charmeleon with 2 Hyper Fangs. Even despite my seasickness, chat couldn't trounce me here. After letting a 10-year-old rub the back of an ailing old man, I received my first pair of safety scissors. I went to prune the shrub and enter the third gym. This was the first gym that I started paying attention to team building for. I see nuzlockers usually handle runs one of 2 ways. The first way is to start building a team that can handle everything and will eventually be your Elite Four team. Or the second way of building a team based on each major encounter. I went with the second route, and proceeded to add my Lawnmower, who is now a Gloom, and White Noise the Drowsy to my team. I also kicked Diglett off my team after almost losing him to that random Pikachu on the ship. After getting stuck on a simple puzzle for a solid 4 minutes, even with speed up, I leveled up my Pokemon and started my third gym encounter. I wish I could say I had a fight here, defying all odds and barely nabbing my 3rd badge, but I really just set up Leech Seed and Poison Powder on each of Surge's Pokemon before leafing them down. I'm not sure if I would have played so risky with Ivysaur if I could do this
as long
again,
as you
since
have
he got much lower.
As long as you have something, Surge is really not much of a challenge. As long as you don't bring in water types, you're good. Flying types.
That was probably safe, and fighting through paralysis was a bit of a trip up in the sweep. But I was successful regardless, and hopefully our war vet won't have nightmares from how easily I also swept to this gym. I was feeling pretty confident entering the mid-game. With no deaths and a healthy PC box of options, surely I wouldn't start being punished for my growing overconfidence, especially when I had nearly lost my first Pokemon on the cruise ship. I head back north on my way to the rock tunnel, and completely forget to pick up the HM Flash and the bicycle. On our next set of encounters, I pick up an Ekans on Route 9 that I named Plunger, a Voltorb on Route 10 that I named Phone Charger, and an Onix in Rock Tunnel that I named Garbage Disposal. I won't apologize.
What did I say, Brayden? What did I say?
I proceed to make my way through the Rock Tunnel thanks.
That will never get old. I fucking love that clip.
The Flash. Oh, wait, I forgot to pick it up. So I instead used my incredible internet prowess to look up the route instead of bumbling through in the dark tunnel lost. Thanks, Reddit. We exit out of the tunnel into Lavender Town for our next
bumbling
set of
through is the best thing.
Did I say set? Because I failed my Growlithe encounter on Route 8.
No!
I had completely forgotten that this Pokemon gets Roar.
Growlithe would have been so perfect.
Wanted me to adopt him. Adding insult to injury, there was a random trainer on this route with not 1, but 2 fire types. So an old man didn't make it home that day. This was one of my few shots at a fire Pokemon since I didn't choose Charmander as my starter, but I still had another chance on Route 7. I ran over to Celadon City before running to the Pokemon Center and leaving an angry Google review about my time on Route 8 before taking out my Butterfree rice cooker. He was about to cook for the first time this run and helped me catch a Growlithe. Thanks to Compound Eyes on our beautiful bug, Sleep Powder's accuracy was increased from 75 all the way up to 97.5%. So I simply headed back and drugged up our dog before catching our only fire Pokemon for this game, who I decided to name Blowtorch. Yes, Blowtorches are kitchen appliances. Have you ever seen MasterChef?
Burning things to add that sort of ashy flavour. It's going to be wonderful, or it could be a big fail.
Yeah. Since we had secured our fire Pokemon, we headed on back to Celadon to pick up our free Eevee that was named Thunder, thanks to Twitch chat. It was likely that I would evolve this Eevee later into a Jolteon for the Elite Four, but for now, I left it unevolved and safely in the box. If I made mistakes later and sent my pupper to an early trip to the farm upstate that your parents always told you about, I wanted options. It was time to cross the midway point on my gym badge collecting adventure, and I headed on over to Gym 4. I made a passing comment to the pervert outside. Wait. It's a great gym, dude. It's got women in it. There are women here. I can smell them. Before heading on to the estrogen-filled gym, I defeated 2 of Erika's entourage standing in my way before leveling up my team with rare candies. I led with Blowtorch, my only fire Pokemon this entire run so far. Why do I keep emphasizing only? Because I proceeded to almost lose him to a crit from the victory bell, bringing him down to 27 HP. With my whole plan for this gym out the window, I pivoted to my tried and true Ivysaur, who proceeded to get crit down to 50 HP by the sexton looking Pokemon. My claim
Victory
run
Bell is
felt like it
nothing
was
to
quickly
sniff
spiraling
at,
out of
that's for
control,
damn
as
sure.
I stupidly learned the hard way that Leech Seed does not, in fact, work against grass Pokemon. It seems I know less about
Know
this
that,
game than
honestly.
expected.
I will say I
attempted
didn't
to
even know
recover
that.
here by switching into Pidgeotto. After all, I could always still sweep this gym with some wing attacks, right? And that's exactly what happened. What went from almost putting my dog down early became another boring single Pokemon sweep. But I had made it past this gym and secured my 4th badge.
Pidgeotto
Clearly, all
for
of my
the
confidence
win.
wasn't for nothing.
Or
Briefly
Whisk, I'm
forgetting
sorry,
how you're supposed to
Whisk
progress this
for the
game
win.
after Erika, I ran around lost for 15 minutes before heading back to Lavender Town to get an encounter at the Pokemon Tower. Relying on memories that are well over 20 years old probably isn't the best way to play Pokemon, let alone a Nuzlocke challenge. Before my encounter though, I was first interrupted by my pesky rival, Chat. Having completely forgotten this fight was coming up, I led with Ivysaur against his
Yeah,
Pidgeotto,
she's talking about you
which
guys.
I quickly switched out for Gyarados. I was attempting a repeat of my rival fight on Nugget Bridge. Pidgeotto was swiftly decommissioned with 2 bites and Dragon Rage. 2 more Dragon Rages ended his own Gyarados before I swapped into my own Pidgeotto against his Execute. Unfortunately, he got put to sleep here, so I burned some sleep turns before waiting it out to kill his grassy balls with some wing attacks. Pidgeotto had lost health here though, through all the sleep turns. So I switched to Eradicate when he sent out Kadabra. Single Hyper Fang sent the cereal-loving Pokemon back to school, and another 2 Hyper Fangs made easy work of his Charmeleon.
I'll say right now she's doing a lot better than I am. I would have lost like 2 or 3 Pokemon by now due to stupid decisions, keeping Pidgeotto in when he's at half health, or a crit killing my Pokemon. Yeah, definitely don't have any PTSD about that or anything.
I got lower than I would have hoped on 2 of my Mons, but overall, it was a fairly clean fight. Did I forget to mention I don't remember this game very well? Well, maybe I claimed I knew this generation best, but it didn't mean I knew it well. So I had to turn around and go back to the Rocket
Shit
Idol and pick
happens.
up the scope. Lack of awareness gave me a fright on a random trainer encounter due to crit on my way back
Grimer.
to Celadon. I had always attempted to avoid most trainers on routes, but between being impatient and getting lost, I started slipping out. I headed to Route 16 where I caught a Doduo that I named Eggbeater. Apparently, Doduo is a Pokemon that can learn HM Fly in this generation. Unlike Golbat, who is much larger, I guess he just Eggbeaters with his legs really fast to stay in the sky. Anyway, I picked up
actually
Fly
exactly
from the
how
house
they
before
fly.
heading off to my crime-stopping adventures. I quickly cleared out the small crime den and beat up Silver's dad, Giovanni. This wasn't a very exciting section, and I just played it safe by keeping Pokemon healthy in between battle and doing some puzzles even kids
Sir,
can do.
for
Anyway,
the
I swept through this whole
MVP.
team with my Primate Toaster and headed back over to Pokemon Tower. I had a ghost Pokemon I wanted to catch. In the Pokemon Tower, there's really only 2 options you can catch here, Ghastly or Cubone. Cubone is fairly rare though, and it's much more likely to wind up with the ghost. Despite knowing I had no way to evolve it into a Gengar later, I figured I could still make it work fairly well, even if it was a bit frail. I caught my Ghastly, which I named Whipped Cream Dispenser, before completely trivializing this whole section with Catjam the Persian. With Persian's normal typing and access to both Bite and Feint Attack, I can't say this section
I
is
love
very
Persian.
memorable. I safely made my way up the tower and collected my Pokeflute to wake up the sleeping giant. Snorlax is a beast in combat.
is my twin!
Easily one of the best normal types in the game. He boasts a solid 540 base stat total with high stats in HP, attack,
Yep.
and defense. It would make a solid addition to any team for a Kanto run. You know, if I didn't accidentally kill it. I was today years old when I learned that Leech Seed does not in fact deactivate on switch out. I chose not to give myself a second chance at the Snorlax
No.
on the other route. I took a slight detour back to Vermilion City
Big
and
bulky
Celadon
boy.
to pick up my free bicycle before making my way down to Fuchsia City. I also had to remind myself here that I think these remakes now suck because I have no access to Ponyta on Cycling Road. I've harped over these encounter tables my whole playthrough
Shit,
so
I
far,
forgot
but it was
there's no
really jarring
Ponyta
not to
on
find some
Cycling
Pokemon
Road
I expected
anymore.
in locations I remember. I failed to catch a Pokemon on my first encounter in the Safari Zone, and then prepared to face off against the 5th gym. The better choice here might have been to make my way to the crime-ridden Silph Co to gain access to the 6th gym before this, but I didn't do that. I mention this because both gyms have the same level cap, and with all the trainers and Silph Co there are to face, I would be locking myself out of using some Pokemon due to overleveling. I enter Gym 5 with my newly put together team of Persian, Hypno, Venusaur,
Pretty good team,
Butterfree,
honestly.
Golbat,
Outside of
and
the
Arbok.
Butterfree,
Well,
but
Golbat
still.
and Arbok finally got out of PC box hell. They didn't show up in battle beyond emotional support. Arbok also unfortunately got Shed Skin for an ability, which would not make it an option for later in the game,
not
leading to its
Intimidate.
neglect. This proved to be another easy gym fight with a single Butterfree cooking up the competition. I led every fight with sleep pattern
Never mind.
before spamming
I
Psyduck
badmouthed
for victory.
Butterfree,
The
my
last
bad.
Weezing did wake up after one sleep turn and got off a sludge on our coveted bug. Had this crit, maybe the story here would have been
shit.
much different. But in the end, he was victorious, and Rice Cooker finally lived up to his name, serving us up with a easy match. Next up was Silph Co, which is needed to unlock Sabrina's gym. There was just one small problem. I'm pretty sure I mentioned I don't remember this game as well as I
Oh
thought.
yeah,
It
getting
took
lost
me over
in here is
2
easy.
hours to complete the section.
2
I
hours?
spent a lot of time
God damn, 2 hours. Holy shit. I know I get lost in it, but holy fuck.
getting lost, entering every optional battle possible, and running back to the center so I didn't lose a single Pokemon. I think I want to be an NPC after this because I don't think being the crime-busting hero is for me. Life would be a lot better saying 1 or 2 lines on a random street corner than clearing this place out of crime. Anyway, the map is actually pretty easy to speedrun to Giovanni had I looked it up ahead of time.
Diglett.
Lesson learned,
There's your question
research
of
is
the
your
day
friend.
comment
This is where I
section.
started
Smash
paying
or
a bit
pass
more attention
Diglett.
to the rivals level cap, and pre-leveled everyone up in
Not
level.
my question,
This
hers.
was going to be the first fight with his starter fully evolved, and I was already starting to struggle. I let out this fight with Gilgamesh, who did quit work of Chat's Pidgeot with 2 Hyper Fangs.
Oh,
Next
hey,
up was the rival's
Gilgamesh.
Gyarados, which I switched out for my own Pidgeot to remove the Intimidate. I didn't see Raticate
That's the best
tearing through
bird
this
boy
noodle
right
with the
there,
attack
Pidgeot.
down. 2 wing attacks did quick work here before defeating the rival's Gyarados. This was where I made one of my first major mistakes though. Because I had switched in on a Leer and was attacked with Dragon Rage, I forgot that I was defense down when the rival brought in his Charizard. I stayed in here to get another wing attack, but Whisk was quickly brought all the way down to 12 HP from 1 flamethrower. This very easily could have been my first Pokemon loss this run. This is where I was learning that, unfortunately, I didn't have a good answer for this mon, which proceeded to be a theme for the rest of the run. I went in with Gyarados despite not having a water attack, and also forgetting that this is Gen 3 physical special split. While I got off the Intimidate on the Zard, it does nothing to the special typing fire moves. Having no plan here, I led with a Twister, which did mediocre damage. My best move here is probably bite damage wise since my Gyarados is holding the black glasses. Without the Twister throw, I probably would have managed to kill it, but I didn't want to risk losing my Gyarados for later, and decided to switch out to Raticate. Raticate did not take this flamethrower well, and got a burn on top of it. I have 3 Pokemon with major injuries,
Gilgamesh.
so I switched to
Jesus.
Persian here to avoid using my starter and guaranteed the kill here. Some super effective bites finished off the rival's last 2 Pokemon, and we managed to continue our run deathless. This was easily my hardest fight yet, and it was all because of the enemy Charizard. Going to this Nuzlocke,
God
I
damn,
didn't consider
Charizard.
how dangerous it would be with the abundance of water type encounters I would get. With the most stressful battle today out of the way, I picked up a Lapras named Blastoise from the
Lapras!
random boy watching me almost get the snot knocked out of me. Lapras would be making an appearance later as one of my planned Pokemon for Gym 7 and the Elite Four. We head on up to fight the Criminal Syndicate boss, and he's a pushover. I deleted his Nidorino with a wing attack and a fly from Whisk
See,
before
this is-
switching to Ninja Bullet in on his.
This was the problem with Giovanni. Like, as long as you had, like, as long as you had a grass or a water type, Giovanni was such a pushover. Like, outside of Kangaskhan, who Primate beats the shit out of him every time because he's a normal type. Like, that was the problem with Giovanni. You could sweep him easily. I know it was made for kids, but come on now. At least put a little challenge in there.
Rhyhorn. One Razor Leaf did the job there before he brought out Kangaskhan. I set up a Leech Seed and did one more Razor Leaf before switching to Toaster. Toaster sent this mama to the grave with one Karate Chop to the throat. On his final Pokemon, Nidoqueen, I switched back to my Venusaur, set up a Leech Seed, and threw some more leaves at our Poisonous Queen before defeating
Exactly.
him. Maybe he'll
You
be
roll through
less
him
of a
easily.
pushover as a gym leader later. With our side hustle of a crime-fighting hero finally complete, it was time to prepare for the 6th gym. I built a
Sylvie.
new team for Sabrina's gym as well. This time leaving Persian,
sorry.
Gyarados,
I'm
Pidgeot,
sorry,
and
that's
Raticate in my
stupid.
party, as well as temporarily adding Haunter and Beedrill to my remaining slots. My Butterfree had cooked the last gym, so I didn't see why the other bug couldn't spook this Psychic. Through the amazing strategy of going up and down through the warps continuously, we safely made it to our fight. I led this fight with Gyarados here, who still had the black glasses equipped, in order to kill as many of Sabrina's Pokemon with Bite as I could. Gyarados easily took out her first 2 Mons with Bite Spam before I swapped into Pidgeot to take out her Venomoth with a single wing attack. It was time for her powerhouse, professional serial review streamer Alakazam. I switched back into Gyarados, who allowed for the spoon-wielding Psychic to set up a Calm Mind before doing over half my health with 1 Psychic. I would have definitely lost my Noodle here had I been punished with a crit. 1 Bite only did about a third of his health as well, and my Gyarados was slower, so it was time to swap out to protect him for the Elite Four later. I brought out Pepper Grinder the Beedrill for him to make his one and only appearance this run. I think I would definitely struggle to eat breakfast if there was a bee flying around me. Alakazam absolutely through here though, trying to set up 2 future sites. A single super effective Twin Needle brought this beast down, and I have secured my 6th badge.
With the win.
What the heck? Why did he choose to do 2 future sites? I don't understand. I was nearing the end of the game and had to start picking up some of my last encounters. I made a slight detour back to the Safari Zone to pick up the Surf HM, where I also accidentally caught a Venonat because of spam clicking. I named him Dead because he was a mistake that I had to take to my backyard later and put down. 3 minutes later, he rose once again and we met up on our fluffy bug on Route 15. I named him Undead this time, in case he ever starts a zombie apocalypse. Don't say I didn't warn you. I made my way to the house on Route 12 to pick up the Super Rod before quickly knocking out some water Pokemon encounters. They could be useful for the last 2 gyms and the rival fight before the Elite Four. In the worst case, I need to sack them. I didn't want to risk my Lapras after all. I picked up Candare the Horsey on Route 12 and Can Opener the Krabby on Route 13. I skipped my Route 14 encounter since the only Pokemon left here was Ditto before I finally returned to Route 6 to pick up my Psyduck named Washing Machine using Surf. I made a few trips to Celadon to pick up much needed Evolution Stones and TMs in order to evolve my Arcanine and Jolteon. A few more detours led to picking up a Magnemite named Battery Pack in the power plant, which I also cleared out of items before waving goodbye to the spiky bird. I picked up Clothesline the Tentacle on Route 19.
I would have tried to catch him, honestly, since he's technically a static encounter.
Incredibly lazy, I decided I didn't want to make my way through the islands and any ice puzzles. So I flew back home, caught a Tangela named Mold on Route 21, and finally arrived at Cinnabar Island. I finished up this portion by meandering through the Pokemon Mansion like the lost anime fan that I am, and picked up leftover the Grimer here, before I was ready to build my team for the gym. We kept Pidgeot and Persian on the team for now, and rounded out the team with 2 water Pokemon in Lapras and Silph.
Very nice.
This gym proved to be an absolute cakewalk thanks to my massive brain acing all the Pokemon quizzes. I used a pretty clever strategy here to defeat this gym.
I'm going to ask this for anybody in the comment section. How many times did you purposely get those questions wrong just so you can get experience with the trainers inside of Blaine's gym? Because I will admit, I've done just to grind up one of my water Pokemon. I did it many, many times. It's the perfect grinding montage right there, or mini grinding montage.
With Gym Badge in hand, I headed outside before accidentally getting invited by my favorite cosplayer to the Sevii Islands. Apparently, you can't leave the island quests after you start them. But since they are an optional part of the story, I decided to pretend this was all just a dream and roll back my save state. Except my save state was awkwardly probably over 30 minutes ago, and I had to go through leveling up and evolving Pokemon again. Now my massive brain will remind me to save next time. So we head to Gym 7 for the first time. I used the elaborate strategy I dreamed up here and sent out my Lapras. That was until he brought in his Arcanine. In the name of safety, I swapped out Lapras to Seadra after trying to unsuccessfully kill this good boy, only for Seadra to take half its health and damage. Well, he doesn't have any of these after all. I switched into Eradicate after this and simply finished the dog off with a quick attack. Like all my gym experiences so far, it's been fairly easy to sweep with a single Mon for the most part, even despite some hiccups. It was time to secure our final badge, our ticket to the Pokemon League, and beat up a mob boss.
Wait, where's Venusaur?
In
Oh, wait, there
typical
he is.
gym
Never mind.
fashion, I crafted a new team of Venusaur, Seadra, Lapras, Pidgeot, Tangela, and Butterfree for this fight. Even though I always crafted a new team for each
just for
battle,
Giovanni. Okay,
really
I was
only
about to
ever
say,
brought 4
that's
real
not
contenders
exactly
I
gonna
wanted
get
to
you
use
far
and
in
niche
the
backup. I
Elite
then started
Four,
this
but
gym
go
without
ahead. But
leveling
never
up
mind,
to
I
the
forgot
cap.
Giovanni.
Maybe getting cocky from all those Pokemon quizzes earlier is getting the best of me now. This fight started with sending out Venusaur, who set up a Leech
And
Seed
he
against
missed his
Rhyhorn,
Razor Leaf.
which I missed the first time. Anyway, I proceeded to set up Leech Seed for real this time, so I could heal while I set up Growth 3 times. Now that I'm +3 to special attack, I
Nice.
finally kill off this rock with a Razor Leaf. Another Razor Leaf also finishes off the Dugtrio. I swapped out here since I was slow as molasses due to the scary face spam earlier, and I sent out Seadra into his Nidoking.
Oh shit,
Seadra
Earthquake.
took Earthquake like a champ before one-shotting
Okay.
his next 3 Pokemon with Surf. Now that I had all 8 gym badges, it was time for my last fight before the Elite Four.
I'm just gonna say this, Sylvie, you are doing amazing right now. You are doing so much better than I would have, because my dumbass would have thought, Venusaur's growth is up 3 times. Let's keep him in, even though he's below half health. So I would have probably lost my starter right there, because I'm an idiot, and Sylvie is smart. So, congratulations on you.
I built a new team here, though I also forgot to level up all the way before going into this battle. When I make a mistake,
Shit.
I like to make it multiple times. Anyway, my team consisted of Jolteon, Seadra, Pidgeot, Arcanine, Venusaur, and Gyarados. Jolteon was able to one-shot his Pidgeot here with a super effective Thunderbolt. I considered swapping into Seadra here, but went with Venusaur against his Rhyhorn, who killed it with a single Razor Leaf. I was hoping the AI would see Venusaur as a good Pokemon to send Charizard out in, but I have to admit, I know very little about the Switch AI in Gen 3. I assume Alakazam came out here since it was also seen as super effective. I swapped into Gyarados, which I now view as a mistake. It allowed the Spoonmaster to set up 2 Calm Minds on me, and Bite did maybe a fourth of his health at best. Rather than attacking me though, he went for Disable, and I was able to get another Bite off. I switched to Dragon Rage this next turn, expecting another Disable. The next turn I took a whopping 105 damage from a Psychic, before finishing it off with a Dragon Rage. I didn't play around the crit again, and luckily remained unpunished. Execute came out next, and I switched my Pidgeot into his Stun Spore. I think I should have hit Fly here, but I had opted with Wing Attack, which left him undefeated. Regardless, I just finished him off with a Quick Attack. Against his Gyarados, I was too nervous to switch my Jolteon back in to take an attack. I went with Venusaur instead, since this would be the last battle he would make an appearance in, since he wasn't coming on my Elite Four team. I missed my first Leech Seed, though I do get to set one up later.
Not have Venusaur on your Elite Four team. He would do great. Set up Leech Seed, make them paralyzed, poisoned, sleep. Like, he'd be great.
And I kill him incredibly slowly with a slew of Razor Leaves. I wish I had been able to secure the kill here earlier so that Rain Dance was still active for when Charizard came out. It was time to handle this beast for the second to last time. I swapped out Venusaur for Seadra, who almost met an untimely end as a sack. Flamethrower did over half this Pokemon's health, despite it being not very effective. Deciding to scrap this idea, I swapped into my Arcanine.
That is a special attacking Charizard right there.
Never blessed
If
with
he's doing
Intimidate,
half
but
your
it
health,
did have Flash Fire, which meant I could safely switch it in here. This would prevent Charizard from using further stab flamethrowers, especially when he got low enough for Blaze to trigger. I got off 2 E-speeds before I got nervous. I was trying to play it safe with Pokemon I planned to bring to the Elite Four, and like I had mentioned earlier, I had no other fire Pokemon. I didn't think a 3rd E-speed would kill, so I switched into Pidgeot, since I also didn't need him for the rest of the run. Switching into his Wing Attack here left it healthy enough that I was able to take down this lizard with the Fly and a follow-up Quick Attack. It was time to pick up our last encounters and prepare for the Elite Four. On Route 23, I picked up a Poliwhirl I named Drain, and ran away accidentally from a Machoke encounter on Victory Road. I ran away from that! I wasn't supposed to run from that. I performed some more puzzles for children, and finally exited the dreaded cave on my way to the Pokemon Championship. I spent an insanely long time building my team for my first Elite Four, and definitely would not have won any speedruns. I had already settled on bringing Jolteon, Lapras, Arcanine, and Gyarados, but really struggled to pick the final 2 members to round things out. I decided on Haunter as a 5th member due to his access to Psychic and Ghost moves, as well as a sack option in Destiny Bond. I decided to revive both my fossils for naming the Aerodactyl RC Drone and the Ammonite Lord Helix. I figured Aerodactyl was my best choice for a final member before I shoved him on the team and set up everyone with the best move pools that I could. It was time
I wouldn't have had Haunter
or perish, and my Nuzlocke's first ever Elite Four run.
I wouldn't have had Haunter. I would be keeping Venusaur only for like the stall tactics, or to like weaken them, because once you paralyze them, their attack is cut down. And plus, Venusaur hits pretty hard, especially this one right here, where Yes, she's an ice specialist, but she has a couple water Pokemon. Like, uh, I don't know. That's just me.
I would either be walking out of here as Palatown's newest conversational topic, or just another kid with crushed dreams. I started out with Thunder the Jolteon, aiming to do a single Pokemon clean sweep of this Water and Ice Master. Jolteon took out her enemy Dugong in just 2 Thunderbolts before sending her
okay.
close
That's right.
to
She
a
keeps
watery
the levels
grave
near
with
them.
just
That's
one more
right.
Thunderbolt. I spammed a few more Thunderbolts against her Slowbro while taking some damage in the process. This is where nerves got the best of me as usual, and I made a mistake trying to conserve PP and finish it off with a quick attack. One quick attack was not enough to kill this derpy Pokemon, and it got a yawn off before I finished it with a second quick attack. With Jolteon now asleep, I swapped out into Lapras. Lapras took a body slam from Lorelei's one Lapras before I countered with my own body slam, and got a lucky paralysis proc. Body slams weren't doing much damage though against this wall of a Pokemon, so I aimed to kill the Lapras with a Perish Song. I didn't initially know though that the AI was smart enough to swap on the last turn, but this strategy still proved fruitful. The enemy Lapras was locked into a body slam against my Lapras, as its high
I've never had a CPU actually switch out on Paris Song. Didn't know that was actually in the code. Okay.
damaging move. Using this information, I swapped between my Ghost-type Haunter and Lapras until she swapped into Jinx. With my Haunter currently on the field, I was able to one-shot this Icy Witch with a single Shadow Ball, and then put my plan into motion. I swapped back into Lapras to set up Perish Song again. Each turn, Lapras would try to body slam my Lapras, or confuse Ray my Haunter, so I was able to stall out turns here until the music ended this battle. I have to admit, during team planning, I didn't realize I had so many Pokemon that were weak to both ground and rock moves, which made this fight more challenging than I expected. A fight that I used to consider one of the easier ones suddenly had become one of the harder. Rather than lead with Lapras, who was my answer to most of Lance's team, I opted for a Gyarados lead. One Surf killed Onix before I really started wondering how I was going to handle his fighting Pokemon. My flying moves were on Arcanine and Aerodactyl, both of which couldn't easily take rock attacks. I swapped into Haunter here to take the Rock Tomb from Hitmonchan. The second Rock Tomb missed, and even though I was worried about being outsped, I still went for 2 Psychics to finish off this boxer. This matchup proved to be a speed tie in reality, so Haunter only took damage when he swapped in. What was initially just a pivot turned out to be my answer for this fight. On his second Onix,
2
I
Onix?
swapped back into Gyarados.
Thought he only
I
had
figured
1.
despite the weakness that my team had to rock, he could at least take 1 attack before killing it with the Surf. I tried out another Surf against Machamp before deciding I would likely die to Rock Tombs before ending the career of this bodybuilder. I switched into RC Drone my Aerodactyl, since in the worst case, I was more willing to lose him than my Arcanine. I lucked out by switching into a Scary Face, so I was able to get off a Fly before being hit by a Rock Tomb. Fly did not manage to kill here though, likely due to this Pokemon having no EVs at all. Machamp had survived with a sliver of health. Expecting Bruno to heal this turn, I safely swapped into my Haunter, who got off 2 massive Psychics to defeat this warrior. I got off another Psychic on the enemy Hitmonlee, who had spent his first turn on Foresight. Expecting a normal or a fighting type move here, I switched back into Gyarados to finish off his final Pokemon with an Earthquake. For the third fight against Agatha, I opt not to target the weakness of Ghost Pokemon. Since my only good Pokemon would have been Haunter, I expected my Haunter would be easily outmatched, so my lead for this fight was Blowtorch the Arcanine, who was finally making his first appearance. I was planning to just hit hard with stab moves. Getting a little spooked by Gengar setting up a double team, my good doggo was able to hit through the clones and land a huge flamethrower and burn. Gengar attempted to fight back with the Shadow Punch, which did negligible damage, before finishing off this Pokemon with another flamethrower. I exterminated her Golbat with 2 flamethrowers, but I took 2 air cutters, which left my dog at half health. Trying to channel my inner Pichao, I reminded myself about the crit range, but I risked it anyway for another flamethrower on Arbok. Expecting another Sludge Bomb, I swapped into Haunter for the resistance before killing the snake with a super effective Psychic. I didn't want my own Ghost to face off against Agatha's, so I swapped into Gyarados, only to get hit with the unlucky Hypnosis. I decided to eat a sleep turn to see what the damage roll would be, but as usual, I made a mistake and got locked into this fight with a Mean. My Noodle, sensing the worst though, managed to wake up this turn and performed a quick exorcism against this Ghost with 2 Surfs. Against her final Pokemon, I sent off 1 Surf before Gyarados went down to half health. I hadn't played around crit windows enough, so I swapped out here into Aerodactyl due to Gengar locking into Sludge Bomb. My government drone dodged his next attack with a Fly before getting a sick dodge on a Hypnosis. Fight probably would have been the better option here as Agatha proceeded to full restore, but I got off another Fly before getting put to sleep. I swapped out the Jolteon expecting to choose a sleep-based attack and outsped the Ghost for a Thunderbolt kill. On my way to fight Lance, I started thinking about what more I could have done to prepare. A smart move here probably would have been to put Dragon
I'll say, and I know I've said it already, Sylvie, you are doing fantastic right now. you haven't lost anybody yet, and you're on your final 2 fights, which are gonna be like your roughest ones if you don't have Ice Beam. So, good luck, and I hope you got this.
On Aerodactyl instead of Bite, but I thought about this as I was entering the fight. All this cautious planning and thinking ahead still wasn't my forte. It was time for the lazy strategy of sweeping as much as possible with one Pokemon before switching out. So Lapras was sent out first to start sending some dragons back into hibernation. Except Lance's lead Pokemon Gyarados isn't a dragon type. Whoops! Ice Beam did less than half of this Pokemon's health. Body Slam did even less, so I pivoted Lapras out to Jolteon in order to get an easy kill with Thunderbolt. I wasn't sure what the Dragonair would go for here, so I did a safety pivot to Haunter before bringing Lapras back out for an Ice Beam kill. Even though Lapras was half health, my Lapras luckily had shell armor and was never at risk of being crit killed. But in the true fashion of this run, I made a suboptimal choice here. A stab Surf with Mystic Water would have definitely led to a kill, but instead I did an Ice Beam, which did not kill his Aerodactyl. With Aerodactyl's ancient power, he brought my Lapras down to an unusable range of health, and I had to pivot out. I brought out Gyarados during the turn Lance healed his Aerodactyl back up. My Gyarados was able to take an ancient power here pretty easily despite it being super effective, before one-shotting the enemy spy plane with a Surf. Gyarados had been with me for most of the run, and I hadn't kicked it too many times, so I tried out a return here against his last Dragonair. I did get paralyzed by T-Wave, but Gyarados hit through the paralysis for a kill. It was the final Pokemon of the Elite Four, Lance's Dragonite, who was now the only thing standing between me and my last fight with my rival. I switch into Arcanine and take a wing attack, worried about a potential Hyper Beam I protect, which proves to be the correct call. Maybe my VGC addiction is paying off a bit. I swap into Haunter expecting a second Hyper Beam. It was time for my first and only death this run. I went for the Destiny Bond sack. I cast Destiny Bond, but failed to die from a wing attack. And maybe this is where I'll go down in YouTube history. Thank you for your service, Whip. You did good. Key friend. You work hard.
Rest in peace, Haunter. That is why I wouldn't have brought him in, honestly. But that Destiny Bond did just save them. Good on you, Sylvie, for figuring out you had to sacrifice one Pokemon and made the correct choice.
Oh my god, I don't know anything about this game. I forget how Destiny Bond works and sack my ghost for nothing. Instead of casting it a second time, I totally threw and cast a Psychic. Completely tilted now.
Oh, I forgot about I forgot about how Destiny Bond works too. Never mind. Oh no, she sacked him off and oh no. Oh, you got this.
I sent out Aerodactyl and select Hyper Beam, which unsurprisingly does not kill. I then almost get him killed with 2 Outrages, to which he survives with 7 health. I finally switch out to Jolteon and finish this fight with a Thunderbolt. My only death this run, not a death that was some grand sacrifice to secure me the win, not some sack for a safety pivot, just a death caused by not reading how a move works.
No.
I can't say that nuzlocking hasn't been a learning experience so far though. But now it was time for my final battle to determine if I really would wipe to Chat's Charizard, or come away with my first Nuzlocke victory. I wasn't out of the woods yet though, because I proceeded to overlevel my Aerodactyl beyond the level cap. I wish I could delay ads further. I just overleveled! Time to tackle this fight with only 4 Pokemon. I started out with Jolteon against his Pidgeot for an easy Thunderbolt kill. I predict the Rhydon here to go for Earthquake, and switch into Gyarados, who also gets an easy kill with Surf. After hard deliberation, I think I can set up with Dragonance here. I do 2 turns of Dragonance and hope for a one-shot kill using Return. But he survives on red health. I predict the heal turn here, and opt to stay in for another return. We then have another heal turn into Return, before finally finishing this Pokemon off with a final Return. Very risky, and not amazing, but all the rival's healing items are now gone. I swap out to Arcanine for his Executor here, to get a nice one-shot using Flamethrower. I play to my strengths and switch into Jolteon. I was expecting a Hydro Pump, but Gyarados went for Dragon Rage instead, leaving my Evolution very healthy before getting a one-shot Thunderbolt kill. It's finally time for the bane of my run so far. the rival's Charizard. This Pokemon had caused me trouble all playthrough, but I thought this was finally time that we get to walk away into the sunset. I get a Thunderbolt off here, putting him into less than a third health before getting hit by a crit slash. Despite Charizard's Citrus Berry, we send it with another Thunderbolt and walk away victorious
Nice.
from my first hardcore Pokemon Nuzlocke.
Great job, Sylvie. You earned this shit.
Some people say that Nuzlocks make the game more miserable, and some of them say that it brings out the nostalgia of youth. Regardless, this run was a lot of fun, and I was thrilled to have challenged myself. I'll be trying to grow as a challenge runner and do even more Pokemon Nuzlocks.
Congratulations, Sylvie, on getting your first win on your first Nuzlocke. One hell of a team here. Rest in peace, Haunter. Died for nothing. And that has been Sylvie's very first Nuzlocke. Thank you guys for watching. Silvie, once again, thank you for your permission for reacting to this amazing video. You gave me a lot to think about for my Nuzlocks, that's for damn sure. And thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.